for his annual checkup. And while he was getting dressed, the husband left the room and went out into the reception area to speak to Doris in private. And he whispered to her, "I don't like the way your husband looks." And Doris said, "Neither do I, but he's handy around the house." Okay, thank you for that. Is there anybody here from another Unity? All right, good. Keep your hand up. We have a gift for you. Keep your hand up. If you're here, you'd be surprised the kind of gifts we give out. You are going to receive. In fact, you're both. Come on down the aisle. That's a smaller bag today, but it's still a bag of marijuana. All right. Anybody else? Is there anybody here for the first time? All right. Okay. You get a gift too. And back there's some people back in the back side aisle. Anybody else? And down here and down front. First time. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to Unity of Boulder. We are an all-inclusive spiritual community. We love diversity. We think it's important. Everything in the world is diverse. And so we're part of that. We're flowing with it. And we're enjoying that flow. So you are going to really enjoy this talk today being given by Reverend Syntysche.
Brings it all together. So thank you all.
Thank you, Francesco. That workshop, as I said, is today at 12:30 in Fellowship Hall. It's from 12:30 to 2:30. It's $35. This is the only time of year that we're lucky enough to have Francesco here in town, so take this chance while you have it. We also still have our election going. Today is the final day of our election for our board of directors. And if you've already voted, good, thank you very much. If you haven't voted, you can still there's ballots out in the lobby. There's quite a few people on there. We need you to vote for 4 people. Just put your ballot in the box. We'll be counting it at about 12:15, 12:30 today. So please check that out if you haven't already. And lastly, we have a new once-a-month dance event that's going to happen on Sundays. We're calling it Spirit in Motion. It is a freestyle spiritual dance practice that's going to be facilitated by Syntysche's assistant, Steve Hayes, and his friend Cindy Wiederman. There's no experience necessary. It's a $12 to $18 suggested love offering. Anyone can come. It's going to be it'll be following the second service. This month it's going to be on the 19th, and we're going to have it every third Sunday going forward. So come check that out in 2 Sundays from now. All right, now I would like to have Syntysche come on out here and start the music. Oh, and Norma.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to ask you all to stand up, and we're going to sing together.
Can move the mountains. to all that we see, to all that we need. You're awesome. While you're standing, let's say thank you, God, for this beautiful day. And turn and meet one another. Say thank you, God, for you. And get each other's names. You can take as much time as you want. Now pat yourself in the back and say, thank you, God, for me. All right, have a good day.
Boy, that was recycled from a long time ago. We haven't done that in a long time. Doesn't that feel good? To greet the many faces of God in the presence of this incredible room. So today, my talk title is Today is the Day to Claim Your Divine Inheritance. Oh, did you want to talk with me, Sandy? Talking's going on. Okay, so as students on a spiritual journey, seeking out the meaning of life and the true quest for happiness, peace, and joy, I want to remind you that at the core of your being lies the answers to all the things that you are seeking. When we in Unity begin to understand that the Bible is the book of life, it is prophetic and far-reaching, and we discover that the promise of life is that we can overcome anything. We can regenerate from any issue that we're facing, and we can resurrect from things that are over into a new life. And it's very exciting. I don't have a clicker up here, so somebody has to figure that out for me. So when we look into how do we resurrect from issues of life, right? Last week I was talking a lot about what was going on in the world and how do we still see that God is good only, right? We have to also take to task who we are. Who are we really? How do we figure out who we really are? What is the component that is especially what God put us here to be and do? And when we discover that part of knowing thyself, then we are guided to the right work, the right relationships, the right friendships, the right everything. We are divine because we're living in the knowing of the soul that we came in with from many lifetimes with lots of knowledge. But when we look to the self from this outer point of view, we get very lost. And we can kind of feel blinded by everything of the world because we're still signing up that we're part of all of that. And we forget this innate knowing that we all came in with. So we first can ask how Unity's philosophy will help us discover who we truly are. In a book called A Quest for Truth by Eric Butterworth, he writes this: what is unity? We might say that unity is daring to do what Jesus did in his day, to proclaim the practical aspects of spiritual principle, the livability of Jesus' teachings, the eminence of God and God power. In other words, unity is seeking only to put the teachings of Jesus in the present tense. Salvation now, heaven now, God and healing power present in you now. Unity has been often criticized for making religion too easy. You take away the ritual, the historic creeds, the Christian symbolism, the sacraments, the formal communion, confessional, the church or priesthood as the intermediary between God and us. And what do you have left? One might ask, the answer is nothing but meditation and the study and application of truth in you, through you. As for making religion too easy, unity is probably the most difficult spiritual discipline in the world, simply because you are face to face with God and with yourself. There's nowhere to go, no one to blame, nothing to hide behind. You realize that your life experience is the result of your keeping of the law, that God can do no more for you than God can do through you, with the responsibility upon you of disciplining your thinking. Does somebody have my clicker? No? All right, can you give me this next slide, Steve? So unity has 5 basic principles, and this is number 5 of the 5 basic principles. Knowing and understanding the laws of life, also called truth, is not enough. A person must live the truth that he or she knows. Through thoughts, words, and actions, we live in the truth we know. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. Knowledge of these spiritual principles is not enough. We must live them. Thank you. So, taking the responsibility in our own lives. We can practice, we can read the lessons in truth, we can read the story of unity, we can read all sorts of books about unity's philosophy, but all in all, it comes down to facing thyself and not looking outside for blame or saying somebody else is responsible for our happiness, all of those things. We literally have to come to a point where we know thyself and we love thyself so much that we can actually accept others that we don't agree with, that we can keep from always being right and sharing our philosophy with them, but living in a place where you actually discover joy and happiness and peace. Is it more important to be right, or is it more important to be peaceful? That's what my dad always used to say when I was bickering with my brothers as a kid. Well, they stole the cookies or, whatever. He was like, is it more important for you to be right, or is it more important for you to be peaceful? And that doesn't mean we let people walk all over us. We just learn to move out of situations that are no longer serving our highest good and surrounding ourselves with frequencies and qualities in people that are in the midst of us as well, and then helping others heighten their consciousness with us. So when it comes to living the truth we know, when it comes to discovering what is your innate truth from the core of your soul, it's very powerful to discover what you love and what is uniquely you as an expression in this world. A big part of this process is editing yourself down from what others say, feel, told you about who you are, to what you have discovered to know about yourself. Who you are, to what was your personal being. What is it you? What is uniquely you? And a good way to really come down to finding those attributes that God gave you uniquely is, what were you curious about when you were young, when you were little, that had nothing to do with your parents and their passions, right? We tend to kind of follow what our parents told us would be interesting, but somewhere you found these innate gifts that you might have just come in soul-wise. As like in the prophet that Khalil Gibran wrote, he says, they are not your children, they are God's children who come through you, right? So they all come in with their own unique souls. You're just here to guide them, keep them safe, follow what they're showing you is their passions, and you make sure that you water that seed and you help them grow that. But some parents didn't let us do that, and they really dictated how we were supposed to be. And then if that's the case, then there's a lot of guilt and shame as an adult, feeling like you didn't come up to an expectation of a parent. You never could make them happy. You could never make them proud enough or whatever. When in the end, the ultimate goal is to be proud of yourself. That's because spirit is proud of exactly who you are, right where you're sitting, even if everything feels like it's falling away right now. Because you're just now letting go of old belief systems, old natures, old things that no longer serve you, and you are about to rise. That's the resurrection. That's what we study about Jesus' work. It's not so much about the death. The death is a spiritual experience. We've all been through a death. We've been through many deaths in a lifetime because we're always undoing the teachings that didn't work for us so that we can discover more and more of these innate abilities that live within us, right? So to look back, did you love skateboarding as a kid? Did you pick up a paintbrush and you just had this something, you were good at it? People just said, and nobody in your family had that ability. Or you loved dancing, or you loved philosophy, you loved studying about love. There was something about it. Look at what you have given attention to. What were you born curious about? And a lot of times, if we find what we were born curious about, if we had ended up going into a work that had to do with that thing that was in you, at a young age, you would be very successful right now, and that would not feel like work. That would be play. Because there was this innate something that was to be developed this lifetime. And you're never too old to step into your truth, right? We might think, well, I'm 50 years old now. You know, how do we start over? The kids are gone, and we don't know really what to do next. And this is an opportunity, always, to discover more and more of what God has given us. So when I was a small child, I was raised by a mom that was very spiritual. And I don't know if she created a curiosity in me about the ethereal realm, but I had a very deep connection with the ethereal realm. My middle name is Casey, after Edgar Casey. From the day I was born, I was put in this world to really look at the greater qualities. I always had a very succinct intuition. I could trust it, and I did all my life until you end up in those relationships that talk you out of the power that lives within you, and then eventually you live with, blinders on until, again, that death had to happen, and then you resurrect into what was innately yours and even grow it more. It's a very exciting process. It's also a devastating process. It has all of the emotions involved. And I remember my mom telling me a story about when her father had been sick in a hospital in New York City, and he was dying of cancer. And she and my dad had to go back to the Salvation Army. They were so poor. They were staying in like a shelter-type situation with my older brother, who was a baby at the time. And my mom woke up in the middle of the night and started meditating. My parents were involved in the Edgar Casey work called the Search for God group in New York City. That's what started their spiritual work. So Unity isn't always into Edgar Casey's work, but that's a big part of our Unity of Boulder's philosophy here. So in the middle of the night, she decided to meditate, and she had an experience where her father came to her. And she was taken up into this ethereal realm where she could see down at her bed that was square, but turned round to show that her baby was protected and it wouldn't fall off the bed, so she could go and be in this experience with her father. And she saw that golden cord that Edgar Casey talks about that connects you to your soul and your body. And if that ever gets severed, you probably are moving on to the other side. She saw the golden cord. She got to be with her father. She got to experience what he was experiencing, passing from the physical life to the spiritual life. And that just changed her life. That story, I probably heard it 100 times as a kid, and it never tired for me. For me, it was just, I knew that I came from that. I knew that I just felt the resonance of that truth. And now, all these years later, you realize the kind of work I'm in, and my whole work is about working with the ethereal realm and dealing with people with illnesses and everything else, and teaching them that they have the ability to overcome everything. You can physically overcome anything if you can reprogram what's sitting in the subconscious mind that's speaking to the physical, that's speaking to the spiritual, that's speaking to your thinking, right? But like it says, unity isn't the easiest way. We're not just going to a priest that's going to pray for us and we think it's all going to work out. We have to take to task. What are we harboring in our beings if we're looking for physical health, if we're looking for attracting a relationship, if we're looking at what career we want to do, etc.? You fill in the blanks, right? So I also had, as a kid, a very big curiosity about birth, childbirth, and just was always really involved with studying and wanting to know about it. And by the time I was 10, I wanted to be a midwife. That's what I actually wanted to do for a living. I was sure I was going to be a midwife, and then ended up being a mother in my early 20s and got to experience that through my own birthing process, and then went on to have 3 more children and loved every second of it. But I realized I loved every second of that, but I didn't want to actually do that as a job. That there was actually a stress and a medical aspect to it that I was like, no, it's enough to do it yourself 4 times. I didn't really need to see it more than what I've been through with it. But it's all of those things that you look at, like, what were you curious about? Because that will tell you a lot about what you came in with. Were you attracted to crystals? Were you attracted to nature? Did you feel like you could hear animals and what they were thinking when you were around them? It's all of that fun, just yummy. This is my favorite stuff in the whole wide world. So Edgar Casey speaks to some of the ways we can discover our innate truth about ourselves. So this is one of the things that he says. Dreams, visions, impressions to the entity, which is us, in the normal sleep state are the presentations of the experiences necessary for the development if the entity would apply them in the physical life. These may be taken as warnings, as advice, as conditions to be met. Conditions to be viewed in a way and manner as lessons, as truths, as they are presented in the various ways and manners. During the dreaming state of sleep, we experience the difficult levels of consciousness and receive input from the different realms of the spirit world. Through dreaming, we have special access to our spirit within. According to the Casey readings, there is not a question we can ask which cannot be answered from the depths of our inner consciousness when the proper attunement is made. When the proper attunement is being made. So what this is saying is we have a direct connection to spirit. And so often when I'm counseling people, spiritual counseling, they're wanting to know why they have been focusing, they've been visualizing, they've been affirming something, but it's not happening. They've worked with the universe, they're doing all of the law of attractions, it's what are you saying, feeling, being, doing, and something's missing. And sometimes what we think would be right for us isn't what's right for us. So we have to be willing to pivot as Spirit shows us what is next, what is needed. I had a really funny dream this week. I woke up and I told Mike, in the dream, I've had this dream, but it's a sign that I'm feeling anxious around this work. And the dream is that I can't get to my sermon. I can't get it to print. The service is about to start. It is starting, and I say to my dad, I need you to take this service. I can't do it. Like, I'm just in this panicky place. But in this particular dream, I asked him, and he said no. And he usually says yes, but he wasn't letting me off of this. He's like, you've got this. You don't need this sermon. And it is that, and I know that's kind of part of what this is about. That dream was, you don't need the physical sermon. Let Spirit speak through you. You know, sometimes it's okay to let go of the script, but that's one of those things I'm working with right now, right? But then in the dream, I go to my office. I'm trying to get this to print, and there's all these people in my office. And somebody's sitting behind my desk, and she's messing with my computer. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't even know this woman. She's just messing. And when I get to it, it's just a black screen. And there's just got the little cursor going like this from like the computers 100 years ago. Where did it go? It was just like, and I barked at her. I barked at this woman like, who do you think you are? Like, what are you doing behind my desk and messing with my computer? And I'm still not getting there, and I can't get to the stage, and the church is full, and I'm supposed to be speaking, and all the anxiety, and my dad comes in the office and says, you can't respond to people that way. You cannot respond to people that way any longer. Like, all these things I needed to get to, and here this one was messing with the actual, like, machinery, but even that, even though you're under this great pressure, you cannot respond to people or life that way anymore. And it's so true. Like, just that was what stuck out. This no longer serves you, Syntysche. I should have just walked around out on the stage and just let it be what it was. And I woke up and I was like, panicked. And I told Mike the thing. He's like, I feel like that at the church every day. I feel like every time I'm trying to get to something, there's 10 people stopping me, and I get to the thing, and I've forgotten why I was going to the thing, and it's so true. It's really hard to accomplish anything here. So he's like, I relate. But all of that dream really came down to reacting, right? The universe is telling us what is needed, what is being called of any circumstance. We just have to be able to read those dreams and understand what was the most important thing. So here's another example of how we can experience God when God's giving us a message, Spirit. Obviously, it's coming from us. It's coming through us, right? But I'm going to show you this little clip where Helen Schuckman, who is the channeler of A Course in Miracles, how she experienced God giving her that entire book as it moved through her. It's interesting. And I'll just have you start this, Steve.
Regarding the voice you heard in describing A Course in Miracles, does it come from outside or from within?
There's nothing that I would call ordinary audition about this at all. It doesn't really... It's a curious thing, and it will be very difficult to explain. Somebody asked me Was it as though your hand was moving? No, I wrote perfectly voluntarily in response to. I call it a voice, but a voice has sounds, or sounds as though it had something to do with hearing. I didn't hear anything. I think it's a sort of hearing that you can't really describe. It doesn't have anything to do with ears or waves hitting a drum or anything on that order. I don't really know. I think maybe I'm using the wrong word when I say hear. I sort of recognized it. It was very rapid. I could even, if I didn't catch a phrase, I could sort of say, would you mind doing that again, you know?
This was in your mind?
This is strictly mental. Otherwise, I would consider it hallucinatory activity. I don't feel it was that.
Is it comparable to anything in terms of how we hear ourselves talk, or like you talk to yourself?
It wasn't my voice. It couldn't have been because it talked about a whole area with which I am entirely unfamiliar.
What about subvocalizing? When you're subvocalizing, you're hearing the words. You're actually hearing them.
No, there's no vocalization. It's a process that I really would find impossible to explain. It's never happened to me before. I don't have any knowledge of the area so that I wouldn't be able to say like X or whatever it is, because I wouldn't know what X did.
You could hear the words clearly in your mind even though you didn't hear a sound?
I knew that that was the word. I think knew may be a better word than heard. I did not know consciously at the beginning of the sentence how it was going to end, and that puts me under a further handicap in terms of ordinary language, because ordinarily, if you're going to say a sentence, you know what it's going to be. You sort of get the gestalt immediately. But I didn't. And it came very easily, very rapidly, very smoothly, I guess even painlessly, except that it annoyed me to death, but that's irrelevant.
You can watch the entirety of that interview on YouTube if you just type in interview with Helen Schuckman. It's really, really interesting stuff. But it's a whole other perspective on how we experience God. If you've ever read the Course in Miracles, it's this thick. It's the tiniest writing on the planet, and that all came through her, and it's not a philosophy that she even believed in. That's what's really, outstanding about the whole thing. But I don't speak about Helen Schuckman and Edgar Cayce as these separate seers that preceded us with these abilities that are separate from what we have. It's just a matter of building the qualities, that inner knowing, that something that can tune in to find when the signs and symbols of spirit is coming through you, right? As a dancer, as a singer, as a dancer especially, I've felt spirit come in and dance through my body. I have had experiences where I am no longer a separate self. I am a part of the interconnectedness of all life. I've had moments where I have observed myself outside of my body and recognized me as a perfect child of God and that vibration moving in and through. I have had experiences where I have written in a journal and felt it start moving, and it's no longer my words. It's spirit answering the questions that you just let go, and you just let that pen just start going. But you all have the ability. It's just a matter of fine-tuning how it comes through you. And if there's anything in the world that's more important, it's this. And the younger you are, the more you start this, the more you meditate every day, and then start journaling. Start looking for the signs and symbols. Like on Friday, I was in Marshall's with my mom. And I'm walking around Marshall's, and all of a sudden, there's a cart next to me with a little dog in the basket that looked exactly like my dog Cozy that died last year on June 3rd. And I realized in my mind, what day is it today? It's June 3rd. And that dog looked right in my eyes. And my dog was in that dog for a minute, just saying hi, celebrating this anniversary. See, when you look at every sign and symbol as knowing that it is the universe communicating, it makes life a miracle existence. Every minute and every moment is showing us that it is of the divine. And it's quite exciting. I mean, I started bawling and I had to put my glasses on and I had to leave because I felt her so innately and I miss her every day. But it's a reminder that she's still here. She's still with us, right? So the first part is finding that knowing, finding the knowing thyself at the deepest level. Stop knowing the self that the world has told you are and discover the perfection that God made you as. And it's always being developed and it's always unfolding and it's this wonderful thing. And it's also important to realize that there is no permanence in this physical world, but that you live on beyond this body, that it's come in and out so many times, right? So we don't have to constantly focus about what happens when we die. That's over. That story's boring. How do we live? How do we live miraculously here and now, right? Letting go of the ego by asking in any given situation, what would love do? What would love do? So a dream may be of a physical, mental, or spiritual nature and may deal with all manner of psychic manifestations. These include telepathy, clairvoyance, prophetic visions, out-of-body traveling, remembrance of past lives, communication with beings in other realms, that's my favorite, including deceased friends and relatives, spirit guides, angels, Christ, and even the voice of God. Dreams can also give you invaluable information on the status of your body. When you ever get a vision of something that's going on with your body, take it very seriously, right? Don't get in fear, just get on the process of doing some healing, right? So when we realize that we can not only hear the voice of God, maybe through a feeling, we might be more empathic, so it's a feeling thing. Some people are audible, where they actually hear words. I was just talking to a friend of mine that does channeling, and he says he hears the audible words. She said it's a knowing. Who has felt that knowing in your life? And what did you feel when you felt that knowing? What came up for you when you had that moment? What was the emotion that came to you? Clarity. Pure love. Certainty. No doubt. Comforting? Yeah. And after you had that clarity, did you find that tears started rolling out of your eyes? Because there's an absolute, it's like tears of just awe. Like those tears of, man, God is so good. I get chills so bad all over my body all of a sudden. It's like it just completely, I guess you like what I'm saying? Great. That's another thing. When you get chills all over your body, that's validation. That's spirit reminding you, yes, 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 more and more. Keep on that. Keep on that. But you can also have communication from family members on the other side that get it when they get to the other side. They've gotten out of the ego. They have no longer the attachments that we do to life. But they also feel really good helping us here because we're their children or we're the grandchildren. And they do come through and they want to move through. So Edgar Cayce talks about this. Discarnates, which are us when we go on the other side, a soul without a physical body, are not only rewarded by recognition from the living, they can experience the joy of teaching the living. They can also, in relatively unusual cases, work directly with the living for the fulfillment of worthy causes. The dead differ from the living only in the respect that they are in a permanently subconscious state because the conscious mind of the physical body no longer exists. But the body is an expendable shell, and all else is intact. On the astral level of existence, the subconscious mind replaces the conscious mind of the soul, and the superconscious replaces the subconscious. So when people ask me, I've done everything. I've even surrendered. I've even resolved myself around losing all of it. I don't know what else to do to get this thing to shift, to move out of my way. How does it move the mountains, as that song says? And always surrender is a big part of that. it's also okay to ask your family members for help on the other side. You know what? Whoever's on the other side, Grandma Deering, I really need support right now. I am completely blocked a vision of what I'm supposed to do next. I feel alone. I don't know what to do. Can you please help me? They are there to so want to sign up and be there to support, because from their subconscious, there is no physical anymore. All there is this connection to the soul relationship that you had. They want to see you okay. They want to see you with a roof over your head. They want you to have a running car. They want you to have running water. They want you to have the love of your life. They want you to have a baby if you're having an issue with it, right? And calling that in. And a lot of times, it's all of it. When you're calling that ground, it's that feeling of the love that some human gave us on the outside, but we're also calling God as well in those moments. It's saying, walk with me. It's like the prayer of Jesus when you're going through difficulty, the footprints prayer. All of a sudden, you're walking with Jesus, but there's only one pair of footprints, and it's because Jesus is holding you. Reminding you that at the core of your nature is a knowing, but there's also signs and symbols and helpers to move you into the divine unfoldment and that which you are seeking to be healed. If it's not the way you want it, it will be even something better. That's what Catherine Ponder would say from the prosperity books that she wrote. If it's not this, it's something better. Or something's difficult, we go, oh, I can't wait to see the good that's going to come from this. And it may come out sarcastic at first, but eventually you'll believe what you're saying. I can't wait to see the good that's going to come out of this, right? Because we know there's a falling away period of everything that's not serving, and that's the painful part. But that it doesn't ever stop there. The regeneration, right? It's the generation, degeneration, regeneration, right? So we come in perfect. The degeneration is all the people that told us that we weren't not good enough, and then the regeneration, the resurrection of the Christ potential in you. And only share that with the people that believe that about you, right? We don't need to convince anybody about that. That's for you and God. That's the beauty of this journey. You can share that with people if they need that help. But if you're needing validation, you have to do that with God. So I just want to take you into a short meditation where we can kind of work with having a direct connection with Spirit, which you are having right this second. But sometimes asking really good questions can be very powerful to help us connect with this greater love we call God, Source, Spirit, whatever feels and makes you feel loved, hugged, seen, worthy. So, I've got something missing here. Keep going. Okay, so for this exercise, I just want to have you put your feet flat on the floor, and the pews are not exactly the position you want it. You want to get on your sit bones and sit up and not let the back of the pew support you. Engaging the stomach so we can feel ourselves breathe in. I ask you to join us at Qigong today. I'll be there, and so will Steve, my assistant. You want to learn how to connect with healing the body, mind, and spirit. This will be an opportunity today to do that for sure. So I'm going to read aloud a question, and then I'm going to ask you to think about the question I've asked, and then to stay quiet until you get an answer. So number one, where is divine timing a major factor in my life right now? Either because something was brought to me sooner than I felt ready for, or because I feel frustrated waiting for something I have wanted for a while? Where is divine timing a major factor in my life right now? Either because something was brought to me sooner than I felt ready, or because I feel frustrated waiting for something I have wanted for a while. What recently entered my life that is part of the big plan for my soul in this lifetime? What recently entered my life that is part of the big plan for my soul in this lifetime? What am I longing for or desiring that would not be for my highest good? What am I longing for or desiring that would not be for my highest good? What have I been curious about or interested in lately that is actually a nudge from my soul or from spirit? What have I been curious about or interested in lately that is actually a nudge from my soul or spirit? And if you got an answer today, God bless that. And if you didn't get an answer today, God bless that as well. This meditation is on YouTube under Unity of Boulder. And you can work with it this week. Just slide all the way to the end and do this meditation. And do it until you get the answers. This kind of a practice is how you start to become connected with the soul and the knowing that you were put here to know and be and deliver as a divine being of helping and love and beauty for this world, for your families, for your spouses, most importantly, for yourself. God bless you. We'll take an offering for unity now.
Well, she's done it again. She just is amazing in sharing the divine truth that all of us need to remember, because it's not all new to us. Most of us, especially in Unity, have lived lives on this journey wanting to enter into that fully enlightened state that the masters say, "It is no longer I that live, but God who lives through me." And that's the process, that's what we're seeking, because in finding that, you find life abundant beyond anything the finite mind could ever imagine. So we should be so grateful to have this opportunity to listen to Syntysche share these truths, because she wasn't born with all the advantages. She had some advantages. She had me. I know. But she had to gain her own experiences and some hard times and difficulties and see her way through it, as all of us do. But if we remember that we're always in the presence of that greater intelligence and love, as she is pointing out to us, we will be free and in peace and able to move with life, whatever it presents to us. So with that gratitude in our hearts and minds, let's take an offering for unity. Those of you watching this on screen, we're inviting you to come on in and share yourself physically here. Enter this congregation again and be part of what we're sharing here every Sunday, every Wednesday. And you can tithe in these ways to Unity of Boulder. Let's just all bring to mind that financial gift we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder. And let's bless that gift with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. So it is. And we have Heidi to share her amazing music with us again. Such a blessing.
Melinda up to share an offering we have for Unity today.
Actually, I'm handing it off.
Here, stand in the light where you can see yourself in the light. That'd be good.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm a senior. I'm in YOU, which is the youth group here at Unity. We go on an annual rally. We call it Rally every year. It's like our annual week-long retreat with everyone, and we're going to Oklahoma this year. So we're holding a bake sale right out that door. It's a love offering system, so we just ask that you give whatever you can, and you're welcome to take a couple treats or one or whatever. It goes towards scholarships and gas money. It's a very expensive ordeal, so we just ask for your financial support if you would like. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. These trips with the youth department are life-changing for them. They come back so connected with what I was teaching today here. They get to do it with their peers, with their age group. I was in YOU. I was the president of my YOU, and it was some of the greatest years of my life, honestly. And my sponsor, that was like Melinda, she's still always here. She's always in my office, actually, after church, hanging out. So there's a friendship and a family that they create, that they have those kids out in this world for the rest of their lives. When they're having troubles, they get reminded of their power and this Christ potential within them, and they help each other stay strong in this world that is difficult at this time. So please support their group and make it possible for as many kids to go as possible.
We have prayer partners for those of you that might be facing a particular challenge. When
could just
everyone
stand
files
up.
out of the congregation, just remain seated.
They have the white cloaks
Our
on.
prayer partners are there. They'll come over and share a prayer with you, or if you are up to it, they'll take you downstairs to our beautiful meditation room and share a prayer with you down there. One final thing. If you want to do yourself a real favor, you have the opportunity again today. We have the special guest Qigong teacher in touch, a master of what really makes life work. His workshop is taking place at 12:30 today for $35. All right? You might want to get in there and enjoy that.
And you can register in the bookstore, or you can register right before, right outside the doors of the fellowship hall. And there's quite a few people already going, so it's great.
That's cool.
All right, let's all rise and close with "Let there be peace on earth." That's the most important thing we could see in our mind's eye at this time.